So I'm actually in the process of editing a Goku versus Superman video. It's about 20 minutes long and I'm going extremely in depth on this and I'm very honest with my thoughts. And as I was editing this video, I thought of a really interesting point that I feel like the Dragon Ball community is kind of forgetting. And this is dealing with Gohan. Are people kind of forgetting how strong Gohan actually is now? You see, the thing is obviously this death battle between Goku and Superman was planned in advance, but the crazy thing about it is that based off of recency, Goku's arguably not even the strongest mortal anymore. I mean, he just went through an arc where Granola and Gas were the two main strongest characters, and then Black Frieza just came in and then wrecked him and Vegeta, so he's training in the process. You have Broly, who's basically an untamed, super powerful character that when he can fully control himself, who knows what he can do based off of what Kale was able to do when she was able to control her power. And then Gohan and Piccolo just got two major power-ups. Three, technically, if you're counting Piccolo getting two new forms. So, when you think about it like that, like, Gohan is really like the strongest character right now, and you can argue, well, is he stronger than Goku? We won't be able to know because they're not going to fight. They're obviously both good guys, but it just kind of feels like, I don't know, there's just something about this, guys. I can't put my finger on it, but when you look at how strong Gohan got, it's like, did you really get this powerful just to defeat a rage monster in a movie that fans only cared about for this amount of time, and then they're kind of forget, and then you're gonna kind of like disappear as a character now as the story goes back to focusing on Goku all over again? I want you guys to actually sit back, relax, get some popcorn, drink your water, do whatever you need to do, but just sit down and close your eyes and imagine how insane what Gohan did actually is. His father, along with Vegeta, have been training with deities for years, right? They basically have been training with deities for years. Gohan is like a part-time fighter where like he only fights when it's like so serious that he really needs to fight. But if it's like a minor thing, Gohan's like, I'm just gonna go live my life. Chill, take care of my family, work my normal Earth job, which it seems like we don't even know what Gohan really does, because it just seems like Gohan's a brainiac scholar, but what does he really even do? Like, I feel like that's still never been fully clear, like, exactly what Gohan does, so if it has been made exactly clear, feel free to remind me, because in my head, I've been watching Dragon Ball for years, and it just seems like Gohan's a very important person, but we don't know for exactly what. But the point that we're trying to get at here is, through all of the training that Goku and Vegeta have gone through, from the Battle of Gods arc, where Goku achieved Super Saiyan God, and then after this, he and Vegeta attain Super Saiyan Blue, and then they keep training, and then they fight against Zamasu, and then they fight in the Tournament Power, and Goku literally breaks his whole limits. And then after that, Goku fights against Broly, Goku fights against Moro, Goku fights against Granola and Gas, like in every single one of these arcs, and then Vegeta now unlocks Ultra Ego. Like, are you, like, even quantifying how much work Goku and Vegeta have put in to be as strong as they are? And Gohan just achieves Gohan Beast out of nowhere and just defeats a rage monster and like rivals his father and Vegeta in strength. And then that's it. Gohan had his one little movie with Piccolo, and then the story's just gonna go back to Goku again. Do you realize that what Gohan did is not even quantifiable in terms of how much power he even surpassed to even rival his father? Everything. Think of everything Goku had done before. Like, this rage boost, this transformation is so great. Like, this beats everything, because even if you go back to, like, the Cell games, right? For example, when Gohan came out of the room of spirit in time with his father, Gohan and Goku were somewhat relative, and it was implied that Gohan was stronger because Gohan wasn't that impressed with how Goku was fighting against Cell, and Gohan fought Cell as a full power Super Saiyan, and he wasn't performing very well, but there's a bunch of other factors for that. And then he goes Super Saiyan 2 and he's light years above everybody. But you know, you can see the buildup. You could see Gohan had the potential. He just needed to, like, figure out a way to control it, right? And then later on, when we go on to the Buu arc, I mean, that was a somewhat similar situation where Gohan slacks off for 7 straight years, and then he just is, like, now stronger than Buu now. Like, that's ridiculous. You know, and just thinking about it like that, like Gohan could just get so strong, and then it's just so funny how people always bring up Future Gohan, because it's like, wow, if Future Gohan only knew how much power he actually had inside of him. Like, isn't that kind of sad? Like, Future Gohan can't even conceive of what his potential actually is. Like, to the point where he spends his whole life training to defeat 2 androids who were supposedly weaker than the present counterparts, even though, you know, I can make a video, and Mike from Laughing Stock Media's made a video talking more about that, and a separate thing about how Trunks miscalculated how strong the present androids were. But the point that we're trying to get at here is that look what Future Gohan spent his entire life training for 13 straight years, and he couldn't even sniff the amount of power that his present form can do just with slacking off. Oh, I don't train for years, I'm a part-time fighter, but I just get pissed off that I can surpass anybody. But I'm saying all of this to make a bigger point, guys, that Gohan is so ridiculously strong now that he's just going to kind of, if I'm going to guess correctly, he's just going to kind of go into the background again. Because the thing about Gohan's character, and I've said this before, is that Gohan is not a good main character. He's a terrible main character because he has too much potential. He does things too easily. Gohan is a great character when you have other characters that have to work hard to get to their level of power, and then Gohan is a reference to those characters. Are you following where I'm coming with this? So, for example, let's use a really, really good example of this. Let's use Kid Gohan. Kid Gohan is a great example of all of what we're talking about, because Kid Gohan, relative to Kid Goku, accomplished a lot of feats in a small amount of time, to the point where he literally, even without training, was stronger than his father ever was. Like, that headbutt that he unleashed on Raditz, and we're obviously talking about at that point of the series, right? Like, that headbutt that Gohan launched on Raditz was stronger than anything Goku had ever done at that point in his life. And he damaged Raditz more than his own father was ever able to do, and obviously not counting Piccolo. So, and thinking about the fact that for Piccolo to even barely surpass the power that Gohan had, like, Piccolo had to literally sit there while Goku fought Raditz off to build up enough energy to kill him for like several minutes. It's not like Piccolo did that in 2 seconds. Like, Piccolo had to really focus to power up that much energy to kill Raditz. And this little kid with no training could just, like, get pissed and then headbutt his uncle, who's, like, stronger than everybody who's ever existed in Dragon Ball up until that certain point in time. You know, but that's okay. Like, Gohan being a cheat code is okay because his potential is a reference to how other characters don't have potential. So it's okay in that sense. But if Gohan was the main character where all he has to do is just look deep within and then just steamroll his opponents from existence, Dragon Ball would be an extremely boring show. It would be so boring to have, like, Gohan just have a temper tantrum and then his opponent's immediately dead. It's great for movies like BoJack Unbound or Dragon Ball Super Hero, but if he's your main character, at a certain point, you kind of want him to have, like, that drive, that thirst to keep improving himself, which is why I feel, in all honesty, that Goku and Vegeta truly are the best main characters. And I'm saying this as Piccolo's my favorite character and Gohan's my second favorite character. Gohan would be a horrible main character when you look at how ridiculously strong he can get. And the crazy thing about this is, let's say when Black Frieza shows up in the future, Gohan's, like, busy studying or training, and Goku and Vegeta have to figure out a way to defeat him. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, if Gohan was used in, say, the Zamasu arc, I mean, it'd be hard because he was immortal, but the point I'm trying to say is that Gohan could have made a significant difference in that battle had he figured out how to unlock his abilities like this. It's like the story goes in directions where it, like, chooses when to nerf Gohan, But then it also kind of allows Gohan to like fully flesh out his power whenever the plot wants Gohan to fully flesh out his power. You know, it's like Gohan's power is all dependent on the plot. It's like, okay, do we completely write Gohan out of the story like we do in Dragon Ball Super Broly, where Broly's literally like on Earth, causing a major threat to the entire planet, and Goku and Vegeta are fighting him, and it seems like there's nobody else on the planet who's even aware of what's happening. Like, obviously, Gohan should be able to sense that Broly is clearly on his planet and is a very, very powerful character, and like none of the other characters had anything to say or do about it. Like, that was, I don't know, that was really interesting there, you know. And then when we go into the manga, like, Gohan fought off Kefla, which, I mean, you can kind of think about this from two different perspectives, where, like, I mean, you can think on one hand that Kefla was scaled down to Gohan in the manga, but then you could also think the opposite of this, and you could say that Gohan was scaled up to Kefla in the manga. It really all depends on what perspective you want, because we need, like, a reference point to how strong Kefla is, but because Kefla never fought Goku like that, like we saw in the anime version, we can't use Goku's Ultra Instinct as, like, or at least Goku's Super Saiyan Blue as, like, a reference point to how strong Kefla actually is. Kefla fighting Goku gave us a strong reference point to where her power kind of stood, but because she focused on only fighting Gohan, we'll never be able to get that version of how strong Kefla was, and that's one of the reasons why Master Roshi's power scaling is so busted. Because Master Roshi soloed Casserole, like everybody, I've seen many comments about, oh, you're only talking about Frost and Jiren. It's like people completely forget all of the other Roshi feats that Mike and I have talked about in other videos, where, like, he defeats the main Pride Trooper Casserole by himself. Like, Master Roshi defeated the leader of the Pride Troopers alone. No help. You know? And he completely demolished Tien. It's not like he had, like, a competitive fight with Tien. Like, Tien, who's supposed to be this really strong human, Roshi didn't beat him. He demolished him. You know? Like, and Goku in his base form had to really try to beat him. You know, and this is a base Goku where Goku's base is way stronger than the initial stages that we saw in Dragon Ball Super. It's a situation like this, and of course I have to put my little Master Roshi power skin, because I know you guys love it when I talk about Roshi so much, because it's so ridiculous. But my point is, going back to Gohan, is that I really hope that after Super Superhero that Gohan's power is at least somewhat relevant again. Like, if Gohan just kind of disappears into his studies or his work again, that's really gonna suck. That's really gonna suck, but at the same time, it's also good for the story if that happens, because when Gohan completely dominates a story, it's repetitive and boring because he's just too OP, and the plot's just gonna make him stronger than his opponent just because. It's really hard having Gohan in the series, man. It really, really is hard. Because he just doesn't have that drive to keep pushing himself and to push beyond his own limits. And the way that his limits work is he just gets pissed off and his opponents are toast. Except future Gohan, for whatever reason, because, I mean, for a variety of different reasons, he never could reach that full potential. But ultimately, guys, that's been my video for today. I really hope that Gohan stays relevant. But at the same time, though, I have to admit that if you kind of keep Gohan out of the story, it doesn't really ruin the story that much, because when Goku and Vegeta defeat somebody, and more so just Goku, because you know Vegeta is not allowed to beat anybody, there's this fulfilling feeling that you get, because you see the hard work that Goku and Vegeta put into getting as strong as they are. You know, that's one of the reasons why I didn't really like Piccolo getting a transformation. Like I said, like, Piccolo's my favorite character, and you can get what you can get as a Piccolo fan, because you ain't gonna get much. But I don't know, just using the Dragon Balls to get it, like, it just doesn't feel fulfilling. And I also kind of like the fact that, unlike the Saiyans, Piccolo never really transformed. He's just strong the way he is. I've always kind of liked that about Piccolo. You know, like, he doesn't have to transform, and while he may not be on their level, he's always, like, a solid, comparable tier below them. He's not as strong as the Saiyans, but he can, you know, hold his own, or, you know, be useful in certain areas below that, and that's one of the awesome things about Piccolo. Like, he could somewhat compete with the Saiyans, despite not having the genetic advantages that they do, if you can read between the lines of what I'm saying there. And as a result of it, I've always felt that that's one of the cool things. But with Gohan, you know, at least compared to the other hybrids like Goten and Trunks, I mean, they're completely irrelevant. But I just am curious as to how Gohan's going to continue in the story and whether or not he's going to get forgotten.